No way. Alone. Me, myself, and I, cause I'm alone. First of all, I got to thank y'all for joining me. I am Nug the narrator. I am your host. This is That's My Take podcast. Welcome, everyone. Everyone's welcome. Before we get into it, I got a couple of things I want to announce. I had all intentions of going live Tuesday, but you may notice or may not notice, but I have a new web camera. The new camera is basically, this is my first time using it, so I'm gonna do some adjustments, all that good stuff. I don't know if I like it being like so up close, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get all that taken care of, but at the same time, yeah, I was ordering the webcam, and I thought I had Prime and it was coming in 2 days, but it actually came in like 4 or 5 days. It actually came today. So now I'm online and I'm using the new webcam, and yeah, we into a new show, new episode, a new podcast. That's my take, where I give you world news, U.S. news, sports news, hip hop news, entertainment news, shit that's weird. I just can't make this shit up news. And then at the end, I definitely try to leave you with a little value in terms of this day in history. Well, I will give you something historical that happened today, November 18th. What else? What else? Oh yeah, we had 91, I think, subscribers. Again, the 100th, if that is a word, subscriber. I do want to do something for y'all, whoever that person may be. When I do reach 100 subscribers, I will announce it and give that person a special shout out. And also, again, I want to do something for you. It might be monetary, it might be, something material, but I want to give something of myself to you and thank you for being the 100th subscriber, in hopes that 100 can multiply into 500,000 one day. I know it won't happen in one sitting. We don't buy views. We don't beg for views. We don't buy subscriptions. We don't beg for subscriptions. What we do is try to add value, a little entertainment mixed in with a little comedy and humor as I'm trying to teach and also, again, entertain you, because this is purely for entertainment. I am no expert in nothing. I don't proclaim to be an expert in nothing. Again, I do this as a stress reliever. I work a very stressful job, and this is my outlet. This is me still being a creative. I love the podcast space. I understand the podcast space. I'm comfortable in the podcast space. What I need for you to do, to people that's actually viewing this, that if you didn't subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. If you're viewing this and you have subscribed, thank you. But I still need a favor from you. If you tell one other person to subscribe or ask one other person to subscribe, my 91 subscribers can easily become 182. And that's just simple math. Tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast if it's something that you digging. Seriously, and I'm not gonna waste too much more of y'all time. We about to get right into it. World news. Mystery of African elephants dropping dead unraveled by scientists. The cause of mysterious mass deaths of African elephants has finally been unraveled, and scientists who authored a new report say the outbreaks could be more likely to occur amid conditions created by ongoing climate crisis. 35 African elephants in northwestern Zimbabwe, dropped dead under baffling circumstances between late August and November of 2020. 11 of the massive herd animals died within a 24-hour period. In quotation marks, it reads, they died over a very narrow window. That's one of the most bizarre parts of the whole puzzle. That many animals dying quite close together, but not right next to each other over such a narrow space of time. It's really, to my mind, rather unique, certainly in this part of the world, said Dr. Chris Fagan, a veterinarian at the Victorian Falls Wildlife Trust in Zimbabwe, who is a co author of the study on the case of the deaths. It turns out a bacterial infection killed the elephants. According to research based on samples taken from 15 of the animals that died in that country, an analyst published October 25th in the journal's Natural Communications showed evidence of infection by a little known bacterium called Bisgard taxon 45 that caused blood poisoning. The deaths took place as food and water resources dwindled during the dry season, forcing the elephants to travel increasing distances to look for water and to forage. Now, this is my take. Obviously, as a person that loves animals and pets, knowing that an elephant is not a pet, but what I'm saying is I'm an animal lover. There's some people that think the idea of an animal is disgusting. I'm not one of them. Obviously, my heart goes out to these elephants who died, and I'm glad that through research and scientific study, they found out that it was a bacterial infection of the blood being poisoned that downed these elephants. If you know me, and again, I kind of want my camera where you could see more of my background, which is not much, but if I prop this up, you'll see the Auburn Tigers who got their ass whooped today by New Mexico State. I'm not even going to get into that part. You'll see that I'm a Alabama opposite. I'm an Auburn fan. Now, with that being said, War Eagles still, and obviously the elephant is the appreciate that, Dave. Good to see it. Good to see you, bro. This will be a good night to call in. Let me know if you about that. Cause we taking it slow. It's Saturday Night Live. And I'm glad you up in here with me, bro. Definitely. But nah, getting back to the elephants, Alabama, that's their mascot. And obviously I hate on the Alabama fans and the Alabama football program, but in all actuality, I love all animals. I'm an animal lover, so obviously my heart goes out again to these elephants and happy that they found out why they passed. And definitely heart goes out to them, man. Moving on. Indian authorities contact Thai cave rescue team as urgency increases to reach trapped men. Indian authorities trying to rescue dozens of workers trapped for more than 90 hours deep inside a Himalayan mountain have reached out for international help, contacting the Thai team that rescued a boys' soccer team from a flooded cave in 2018. The 40 men have been trapped since a tunnel collapsed doing construction work in Norton. Help me out now. Yucatan State on Sunday. Utarakan Utarakan State on Sunday. With rescue efforts becoming more urgent amid reports, some are becoming ill. 4 days after the incident, authorities flew in a high powered drill from the capital, New Delhi, to begin work on a rescue tunnel early Thursday as anger grew amongst the relatives outside the tunnel's entrance. The rescue team has contacted the Thailand company, which has rescued the children trapped in the cave. It added 12 boys and the soccer coach were rescued after nearly 3 weeks trapped inside the flooded Tom Long cave by a specialist cave diving team. And that was in 2018. CNN has contacted the Thai firm which assisted in that rescue. This is a simple one. Obviously, my take on it is we want to get these folks rescued. We don't want to obviously hear no fatalities down there. So I'm glad they reached out to get some help. That's what you do when you need and you have a problem that you can't specifically solve, but you want solved, you go to somebody that can solve the problem. That what makes smart people smart. And again, we're praying that everybody make it out alive in that cave. Moving on. A floating village is stranded on a dry lake bed as extreme drought grips the Amazon. A floating village now lies stranded on a lake bed in Brazil's Amazon as severe drought leaves communities struggling to access food, fresh water, and fuel. Hmm. Receding water levels in a lake in the capital state of Amazonas has left boats and floating buildings marooned in the mud. It is the latest example of devastating impacts of heat and drought on this part of Brazil. Earlier this month, more than 100 river dolphins washed ashore dead as water temperature soared, and authorities say the situation is set to get even worse. The lake is part of the Rio Negro River system, which has been near a record low since the end of September, according to the state civil defense authority. Declining water levels are having a profound effect, a spokesman for the authority told CNN. Some residents have resorted to digging wells in the cracked lake bed in an attempt to reach water. It is currently the dry season in the Amazon, but the drought has been exuberated by El Nino, a natural climate pattern that originates in the tropical Pacific Ocean and affects weather all around the world. Underlying El Nino is the long-term trend of global warming that is leading to more frequent and more severe extreme weather events like drought and heat. World news, man. I mean, and I'm almost done with world news, but world news is usually not, for some reason, nice, uplifting, happy even. Every story is usually negative. And I don't know if it bleeded leads mentality and a lot of great things are going on around the world, but they're not being reported. But with that being said, obviously, we pray that the drought season, the drought season last only as long as it naturally does or shorter to get these people some fresh water, to get these people to be able to get the resources like fuel and obviously a sustained way of life. We're praying for them. We're moving on. And this here is the last world news story of the evening. Again, world news kind of bores me or makes me kind of feel down, I should say. Not really bores me, that was the wrong word, but again, it makes me feel down. So you won't really, I don't know, get, and I look for positive stories, believe it or not, before I go to press, but they're falling in between. Moving on. A French senator has been placed under formal investigation over suspicions that he drugged a member of parliament with the intention to sexually abuse her. The senator's lawyer and the Paris prosecutor's officer said conservative Senator Joe, and we'll just say Joe G. Obviously, all my stories come from the internet. If you need to cross-reference anything, we could easily go online like I did and find the same story. If you're new to the show, you're probably wondering why I don't use last names. It's just a personal choice. Unless the person is famous, well known, or a household name, I will very rarely use the full name of that person. So, with that being said, conservative Senator Joe G, he's 66, is under investigation of administering to the member of parliament, Sandrine J, 48, a substance liable to alter her discernment of control over her actions in order to commit the R word or sexually aggression, as well as for possession and use of substances classified as drugs. G's lawyers told reports late on Friday in a separate statement. G denies the charges, in quotation marks. My client will fight to prove that he has never wanted to administer to his colleague and long-term friend a substance to abuse her. His lawyer said in a statement cited by French broadcasters BFM. The Paris prosecutor confirmed late Friday, that an investigation has been opened, adding that G has been placed under judicial control and is not allowed to contact J or any other witnesses. Again, I only report the stories and then I give my takes. So this is purely opinionated. I don't know if old dude really did what it say he did, but will I be surprised if it turns out he did? Nah. We got a lot of low lives in high positions. And I'm going to say that again. We got a lot of low lives in high positions, which is one of the reasons this world that we live in is so fucked. And again, this is just my opinion and my take. But if we had people with high morals and ethics in high positions, I'm more than sure that the world that we live in would be a much better place. My take on this story is simple. If the evidence comes out to find this guy guilty, it's just another creep. And I did use the word creep. That's trying to abuse power by manipulating and drugging, allegedly. I'm going to move on. We're headed into U.S. news, and I'm going to take a sip of my sweet tea. Side note, before we get into U.S. news, fun fact. The narrator part of my nickname, because Nug has always been my nickname, N-U-G, since I was 3 months, 4 months, a baby. N-U-G is really my nickname. It's not like something I think I want to call myself Nug. No, it's a real nickname, a real hood nickname. And I've been Nug and variations of Nug and Nugglum, Nugget, Nugs, since I can remember. And most people that know me, call me that. But the narrator part came because I've got a cousin, same cousin I spoke of last episode, that basically gave me that nickname because he said when we get on phone conversations, I'm detailed in explaining whatever it is I'm doing at the moment. Perfect example, if I'm cooking, I might explain verbatim. I'm getting my rice ready, just adding my salt, pepper, Tony Zazurans, bay leaves to my red beans. And my cousin's like, nigga, we ain't asked you for all that. You narrate. Hence, Nug the narrator. I kind of like it. I really like it. But that's how the narrator part came on my name. Moving on to U.S. news. New COVID-19 hospitalizations increase. The increase comes after new COVID-19 weekly hospital admissions have mostly been trending downward or remaining stable since early September. New COVID-19 hospitalizations increased last week after mostly trending downward. According to the data from the CDC, over 16,000 new COVID-19 hospital admissions were reported last week, an increase of more than 8% over the week prior. Experts will surely be monitoring the jump as it could potentially signal the start of a widely expected fall and winter coronavirus wave. The CDC said in its weekly respiratory virus summary that COVID-19 activity remains elevated. COVID-19 tests positively, percentage of tests conducted that were positives has not changed nationally, and emergency department visits and hospitalizations increased slightly, the CDC said in a post. CDC continues to monitor the HV1, EG5, and all other lineages of the virus. as winter approaches. Yes, COVID is on the rise. I want to tell all my viewers, definitely try your best to not be directly in the vicinity of strangers. And what I mean by that is if you don't have to be right up on somebody, don't. Especially if you don't know them. I'm not a germaphobe, but whatever is right up under a germaphobe is what I'll probably be considered, as I definitely have my qualms about certain things, and most of it is with interacting with people. I try my best to keep a certain distance or keep that distance very short if I am to speak and have dealings with strangers. Again, this podcast will never, ever be about real estate, but as a real estate agent full time, yes, I come in contact with strangers pretty frequently, but I also frequently hand sanitize and also keep my vitamin C levels as high as possible, as I feel vitamin C helps ward off the virus. I could be totally wrong, but again, I keep my vitamin C high. I just want to take this time to, again, reiterate nothing wrong with taking a piss and then washing your hands for at least 2 minutes. I know that's a long 2 minutes, as I have a timer on my new toothbrush, and I realize 2 minutes is, 120 seconds. But with that being said, I brush my teeth those whole 2 minutes until my brush cuts off. And with that being said, let's start getting into the practice of heavily washing our hands and hand sanitizing as we approach this coronavirus winter wave. Moving on. Judge declares mistrial after jury deadlocks in trial of officer charged in the Breonna Taylor case. A judge declared a mistrial on Thursday in the civil rights trial of Brett H., the former Louisville Metro Police Department detective federally charged in connection with the fatal March 2020 shooting of Mrs. Taylor after the jury reported it was deadlocked. The judge declared the mistrial after jurors informed the court they were unable to reach a unanimous verdict. As it stands right now, the assistant U.S. attorney from the Department of Justice did indicate that it is their intention to retry Brett H. in this case. An attorney for the Tyler family said outside the courtroom on Thursday, according to CNN affiliates WLKY. Prosecutors allege H used unjustified force the night Taylor was killed and violated her civil rights and those of her boyfriend and next door neighbors as well. H denied the charges to federal courts of the rights under color of law, one count for Taylor and one count for three of her neighbors. The charges stem from the botched raid in which Louisville Metro police officers fatally shot Taylor, an emergency room technician, shortly after midnight on March 13, 2020. According to the federal indictment, H fired multiple shots into Taylor's home, some of which traveled through a wall she shared with her neighbors when there was no longer a lawful objective justifying the use of deadly force. I don't know if y'all remember the case, forgot about the case, but this is a case that will always be near and dear to my heart. And to hear that Mrs. Taylor, even in death, is not getting justice, it hurts me. And I know our law is the law, and you need a unanimous jury to convict on such a charge. But I'm going to say someone in that room got it wrong. Someone in that room, and I don't know how many it was that didn't vote on the guilty side, but y'all got it wrong. This guy definitely used excessive force, definitely used deadly excessive force in the botched raid. in Louisville. My prayers go out to the Taylor family. Tyler family. Sorry. My condolences. And when I say I read this, and I just could only think about the many unjust trials and unjust cases that were swept up under the rug or outright let go throughout America's dark racist history. As much as I love my country, it's just as much as I hate it when it comes down to color. I wish we didn't have a color spectrum. I don't just say that because my ancestry is full of slavery. I say that because mankind would probably be a better place if we all was one shade. It'd be a little boring, but I still, for the life of me, can't understand how race is such an important factor in America. We are all human beings. We all bleed. And until I find evidence of an alien being amongst us, I'm going to keep saying it. We are all human beings. Let's love one another. Moving on. Nearly 450 patients at a Massachusetts hospital were potentially exposed to hepatitis and HIV in the past 2 years. This was due to improper administration of IV medication within the past 2 years, according to hospital officials. The possible exposure at Salem Hospital affected patients who were seeking medical treatment in a type of procedure where a doctor inserts a tube-like instrument into the body for examination, the hospital said in a statement on Thursday. The hospital did not provide further details about how the possible exposure may have occurred. Salem Hospital has notified all patients who may have been exposed and tested people for hepatitis B, C, and HIV, which are all standard tests for potential exposure of this kind. There's no evidence to date of any infections resulting from this incident, the hospital said in a statement. We have determined that the infection risk to patients from this event is extremely small. We sincerely apologize to those who have been impacted. The hospital learned of the potential exposure earlier this year and has provided free screenings and set up a clinical staffed hotline to help answer questions. My take would be, and my first question would be, what the fuck's going on here? This is a hospital. Sanitizing the equipment should be paramount. I would not only sue the fucking hospital until I couldn't fucking sue them no more, I would make it a point and make my point heard very far and wide that such a practice should never go on at a hospital. Never. Scary. You put your life in the hands of doctors, nurses, hospitals. And it's just it's just another work day, just another business transaction disguised around medical treatment to them. I'm not here to talk shit about hospitals. I'm here to state what I just read. It's got me a little nervous. How can we trust the people that we're putting our trust into if our trust is being fucked over? Moving on. St. Paul, Minnesota. St. Paul elects all woman city council for the first time in its city's history. It has been more than 3 years since George Floyd's murder, but when Anika B drive through her neighborhood in St. Paul, Minnesota, she can still see evidence of the raw anger residents felt. In quotation marks, there's a large part of my area that is still not recovered. Adding that some buildings in the city, which neighbors Minneapolis, where Floyd died, remain burned or reduced to rubble. B told CNN that the daily reminder of racial injustice in the United States and the shortage of affordable housing in the city inspired her to run for St. Paul City Council, and she won. And last week, the 31-year-old entrepreneur was elected to the city council, along with 3 other women, all of whom are Democrats. They will be joining 3 incumbent councilwomen who won their bids for re-election as well. It will be the first time in St. Paul's history that the city will be represented by all women and majority people of color. My take is I am so happy to hear this news. Elated, actually. All woman city council, people of color, representing a great city, because I've been to Minnesota. There's a college up there. I was recruited. As a backstory, I'm a former tennis player. I tell y'all no lie. If I wasn't into weed and women and got into tennis earlier, I know for a fact I would have been a professional tennis player. That's how good I was, even as just starting out as a 10th grader. And that's latent tennis. Tennis being one of those sports that are basically the rich or well off known to play. This inner city guy got into the game in the 10th grade, like I stated. And by 12th grade, I had Division 1, 2, 3 scholarships because I was that good. And again, I tell you, if it wasn't for women and weed, I probably would have been a tennis pro. I love the game. I play the game to this day. And again, this is a tangent from my story about the women, who again I do want to congratulate, but the tangent will get us back to the women. I went to Minnesota on a recruiting trip to one of the colleges up there, and I'll never forget it. Mall of the Americas. It was July. Nug, the narrator, had to go and buy a windbreaker because it was just a little chilly for him. And I bought that windbreaker tax free. I'll never forget it. They have no sales tax up there. But getting off my tangent and back into the story, I applaud the women for actually winning and representing their city, as I know they're going to do an excellent job. I salute them. Definitely. I salute them. Moving on to hip hop and entertainment news. Now, before I get into hip hop and entertainment news, unless you've been up under a rock, Puffy, Diddy, Brother Love, Sean John, all the fucking names has been in the news heavy. With that being said, my hip hop news will be heavily skewed towards the Diddy headlines and surviving Diddy. Diddy lawsuit dredges up LB Shore's claim that Kim Porter was murdered. Diddy was sued by former girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a Manhattan federal court on Thursday, November 16th, and the former couple settled less than 24 hours later. The bombshell alleged The bombshell allegations and swift revolutions has been the talk of social media since the news initially broke. Diddy has left a series of women in his wake, from Jennifer Lopez and Cassie Ventura to Kim Porter and stylist Misa Hilton. Some relationships were more significant than others, and at least two of them produced children. Kim Porter went into cardiac arrest at her Los Angeles home in November of 2018 after battling pneumonia. The coroner later confirmed Porter had succumbed to pneumonia, an inflammatory of an entire lobe of the lungs. During Porter's private funeral in the hometown of Columbus, Georgia, Diddy said, God broke the mold when he made Kim. There was truly no other woman like her. Cassie's lawsuit painted a drastically different portrait of Diddy, accusing him of the R word, physical abuse, forcing her to have sex with male prostitutes, and blowing up Kid Cudi's car after he learned they were dating. Now, people are wondering if LB Sure was on to something all along. I don't know what's going on in the world of Diddy, but I do know a lot's going on in the world of Diddy. I know 50 Cent always usually takes shots at Diddy, and he actually had some thoughts about Diddy's recent lawsuit settlement with Cassie, and he wasted no time in roasting the bad boy head honcho. The G Unit label head turned television producer took to Instagram on Friday, November 17th, to snark at the quickness of the settlement. In a now deleted post, he seemed to imply that Diddy's problems were just the beginning. In quotation marks, laugh out loud, he paid that money real quick. Should have done that before the shark saw the blood in the water. And here they come in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Every woman he put his hands on, he wrote in the caption. According to the New York Post, the decision to settle Cassie's suit against Diddy was agreed upon on Friday, November 17th, just a day after the Me and You Singers lawsuit was filed in a Manhattan federal court. I have decided I have I have decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control. Cassie said in a statement, I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support. Diddy, Puffy, I got a little age on me, so he'll always be Puffy to me. Real name Sean Combs shared his own statement. We have decided to resolve this matter amicably, he said. I wish Cassie and her family all the best. I don't know. Kind of look guilty throwing away millions so quick. So maybe where there's smoke, there's some fire. I never really been a fan of Puffy the Man. Obviously, he's made and helped produce and help sign and bring out some of the biggest artists, such as Biggie, such as Shine, such as Faith Evans, such as Carl Thomas, such as The Lox, such as we could keep going on and on. We know how great of a music mogul he is, but to have, and again, I read through the lawsuit, and to have these allegations, they just grimy, man, like abuse of power, bro. And I also want to shed light on what I feel is surviving Puffy. The guy is very powerful. I mean, there's a lot going on and behind the scenes with this guy, a lot. And I just wonder, is karma coming? Or the roosters coming home to roost? I don't know. I really don't. Moving on. Memphis Bleak laughs off claims Jeezy was ever bigger than Jay-Z. Come on, man. Memphis Bleak had responded to claims that when he was in his prime, Jeezy was bigger than Jay-Z. On Friday, the rapper caught up with TMZ, where he was asked a series of questions, including his thoughts on Coach K's recent comments that Jeezy once had a larger influence in hip hop than Jay-Z. In quotation marks, bigger where? In his weight or music? In quotation marks. Memphis began seamlessly surprised by the question and asking for clarification. Then he talked about the ambiguity of Jeezy's snowman icon, which the rapper began putting on t-shirts around '05. Snowman, when I first went to Atlanta, the snowman I always thought was Frosty. And then they told me, no, it's Jeezy. And so I said, he's a big motherfucker. He killed that. He continued. If you can change the snowman from being Frosty, and when a person sees snowman, they think of you, but bigger than Hove, come on, man. What Drake and them say, big as the Super Bowl, in quotation marks. My take. No, Jeezy was never bigger than Jay-Z, in my opinion. That's just my take. But I live in the South. Always have, probably always will, because I like the South. I can remember Jeezy being huge in the South. Huge. But I can't never just say he was bigger than Jay-Z. I can't say that. Jigga is Jigga. Again, I'm going to give him the South. In his prime, he was bigger than Jay-Z in the South. I'm going to give him that. But nah, you're not going to tell me Jay-Z was ever bigger than, I meant to say Jay-Z was less than Jeezy ever. Sorry. Last hip hop news and entertainment story is about an Alabama rapper who was just, excuse me, who was just freed from prison. Honeycomb Breezy. Welcome home. I heard he got rearrested 2 or 3 days after he got out on a charge that happened while he was incarcerated. But again, we yelling, welcome home. You represent Alabama well. And do what the fuck it is you go do. Because, boy, I know you got some music and you ready to drop. Let's get to it. That's a wrap on the hip hop news. We're moving on to sports news. Florida State QB Jordan Travis was carted off the field with a left leg injury tonight, earlier today, versus North Alabama. The Florida State quarterback was carted off the field with what appeared to be a serious lower left leg injury in the first half against North Alabama. Travis was tackled while he was scrambling up the middle, and his left foot and ankle got trapped underneath the weight of a North Alabama defender. Travis' left leg was in the air cast as he was driven off the field. He was then loaded into an ambulance and taken to a local hospital. The injury happened when the number 4 Florida State Seminoles were trailing the FCS level Lions 13-0 with a minute and 43 to go in the first quarter. As Travis was loaded onto a waiting court, the entire Florida State team surrounded him and were joined on the field by the entire North Alabama sideline to acknowledge Travis. Travis was replaced by backup quarterback Tate Rodemaker. Travis has been one of the best quarterbacks in college in 2023 and a fringe Heisman Trophy contender for the undefeated Seminoles. The senior entered the game 25, sorry. The senior entered the game 205 of 320 passes for 2,700 yards and had thrown 20 touchdowns with just 2 interceptions. He also had 7 rushing touchdowns. My take, if you saw the injury, you saw just how bad it was. I saw it once and I could not see it again. I'm sorry. It was horrific. I just pray it didn't have any ligament damage and it was a clean break so he can get it repaired and get ready for this draft. Because again, as I read, he's a senior. And obviously, this is going to bring his stock from possibly a second or third rounder to a third to fifth rounder. But I do see him still getting drafted just a lot later. My take also is maybe he should have left and went to the draft instead of coming back. I don't know how many quarterbacks was slated higher than him last year or how many slated higher than him this year besides Caleb. And the guy, what's the other guy? I think the guy in Washington, I think he's getting ready to come out as well. Just, man, hoping again is a clean break and he could get recovered, get ready, and be, again, drafted. Because that looks like that's going to be about a year recovery, maybe 9 months. I know a lot of these athletes are recovering a lot faster these days, but shit, man, that leg looked bad. Seriously. Moving on. Joe Burrow expected to miss the rest of the season with torn ligaments in a wrist. Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow expected to miss the rest of the season with a torn ligament in his wrist, according to head coach Zach Taylor. The Bengals announced the news on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Friday afternoon. Burrow had an unusual injury on Thursday night against the Baltimore Ravens. It's not often a quarterback grabs his wrist in pain on the follow-through from a touchdown pass. Burrow threw a touchdown to Joe Mixon and reached down for his right wrist. He was in obvious pain. Excuse me. Burrow said Friday he felt a pop after landing on his wrist the previous play under pressure from Ravens pass rusher Jadeveon Clowney. The Amazon Prime Video broadcast showed Burrow trying to take warm-up passes on the sideline afterward, and he couldn't grip the ball. He went back to the locker room and was ruled out early in the second half. My take is the Bengals are done. Their record, their interdivisional record, and the loss of Burrow has closed the casket on the 2023-24 Cincinnati Bengals. Sad, but injuries are a part of the game. Burrow mentioned this in his press conference. He understands what's good in terms of what's happening, in terms of what's the next step, and that's getting surgery, getting physical therapy, and getting back next year, hopefully 100% and healthy and ready to go. Football is one of those sports where injuries happen. It's not if, but when. And keeping up with the NFL tomorrow, which is Sunday, We got matchups that's going to include the Steelers versus the Browns, the Cardinals versus the Texans, the Titans versus the Jags, Raiders versus the Dolphins, the Cowboys play the Panthers, Bears match up against the Lions, Chargers play the Packers, the Giants at the Commanders, Bucks versus the 49ers, Jets versus the Bills, Vikings versus the Broncos, and Monday Night Football is the Super Bowl rematch of the Eagles versus the Chiefs, and that's at Arrowhead. I can easily tell you what team I did not call: the Saints, which makes me believe we're on a bye. I can't confirm that, but I did not see us matched up with anybody, as well as the Falcons. I didn't see them as well. So my thought process is they both are on a bye. I can definitely double check that, but I'm almost certain, as I done my sports research, I didn't hear the Saints. In the NBA tonight, there are a few games going on right now. The Pelicans leading the Timberwolves. In an early first quarter, the Heat are leading the Bulls. The Mavs and the Bucks are in the second quarter of a tight one. Grizzlies trailing the Spurs in the second quarter, and in a final, the Knicks get a win, 122-108 over the Hornets. The Warriors and Thunder just tipped off. I don't have a score, but they literally just tipped off. Moving on to one of my favorite segments. I can't make this shit up news. A worker at a Chinese brewery filmed peeing in a tank. Yes, I did say a worker in a Chinese brewery is filmed pissing in a tank. The Chinese-based brewery is facing a lot of backlash thanks to a now viral video that reportedly shows a worker at one of the company's factories pissing in a tank. The video, which was posted Thursday on the Chinese social media platform Weibo, shows a man in a worker's uniform urinating in the tank, according to the BBC. The brewery has not confirmed whether the culprit worked at the factory. A Chinese language business publication quoted by the BBC claims neither the person who urinated in the tank nor the person who took the video were direct employees of the brewery. The brewery released a statement saying that batch of malt in that tank has been sealed off from use, and that the urination has been reported, and at the first opportunity, according to CNBC, the company places high importance on the media reports and has reported the matter to the public security authorities. The public security authorities are presently involved in the investigation, according to the statement. I can't make this shit up. Motherfucker really pissed in a batch of beer. So the next time you drink that pissy beer, think about it for a second. Because I know y'all have heard the innuendos of this is piss water, or this beer tastes like piss. Well, in China, yeah, that beer tastes like piss. We about to wrap up the show. My goal was a smooth hour, and we're approaching that hour. But I can't never leave y'all without this day in history. This day in history is a segment that I love because every day something historic has happened on that day. Just depends when. Take, for example, the topic of November 18th. People's Temple, a religious community led by Jim Jones, definitely not the rapper, that came to international attention after some 900 of its members died at their compound in Jonestown in a massive act of murder-suicide on November 18, 1978. If I was born in 78 in July, I was merely a baby. August, September, October, I was 4 months or coming right up on 4 months. Jones began the People's Temple in the 1950s as an independent congregation in Indianapolis. He was inspired by the ideal of a just society that could overcome the evils of racism and poverty. Although Jones was white, he attracted mostly African Americans to the group with his vision of an integrated congregation. In 1960, the People's Temple affiliated with the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, and 4 years later, Jones was ordained. In 1965, he warned of a nuclear holocaust and led the movement to California, where members became active in both Protestant circles and state politics. Branch congregations opened in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And again, on that fateful day in Jonestown in 1978, some 900 people drank the Kool-Aid. And that's where we get that cliche from of don't drink the Kool-Aid. Because this Kool-Aid has cyanide poisoning in it that, again, roughly murder, suicide, 900 folks. We got a big lesson and take away from this story. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. I want to thank y'all for joining me this evening. This is my take. I am Nug, the narrator. Again, subscribe, like, share, comment, interact. If you're in my chat, you want to interact, holla at me. My email is definitely in the description. If I can help you, I surely will. Again, I want to thank all y'all and hope y'all have a great rest of y'all Saturday night. As I know I'm about to probably drink a little tequila and enjoy the rest of my evening. As always, I want to leave y'all with music. As I am a former failed rapper with thousands of songs written over a 25-year and recorded over a 25-year span, most of my life. Since I can't do much with my music, I can at least share it with y'all. And again, I thank y'all for not only listening, but fucking with me, man. Y'all have a good evening. Be kind. Stoner National Treasure. Fam shit forever. 9/11. If I don't like it, I'ma let you know. Besides, though ain't felt shit since hit the flow. I seen them come, I seen them go. Yeah, everybody moving blow. Quick question though, where all the money go? But they fly the shows, broke on the low. But they don't really hear me though. All cap, for sure, say it ain't so. Wrap my ass off on my pivot toe. Fast forward to the present, still gifted flow. Fam shit, forever rap it, whoa. Wordplay all day, so professional. Lies they told, lies they told. This was called Lies. Stories they told. I'm gonna let y'all hear this next verse and I'm gonna get up out of here. Stop lying about dope, you rappers is broke. Lies they told, lies they told, lies. I think I recorded it about 3 years ago. Lies they told, lies they told. Make me wanna hop, another day, another dog. Hustler on the slick, he a scholar. Most want fame, few punch power. Living for the day, surviving by the hour. Feel like we've been here twice. I'm at home on the mic, dog. He just nice, priceless. Got it and I been had it.
can't leave rap alone, I might add it. You know, relapse, bounce back like some good crack. Facts, just facts. Most rappers whack. Lying to yourself and you believe it. This trash ass music, keep it. We don't need it. Lies they told.
Y'all have a good night, man.
Stories they told. Stop lying about dope. You rappers is broke.